Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. Today we have 3 stories, and as for the first one, I want to say if you throw your car keys at people, then expect the consequences. So let's get started. Forced crazy rich lady to dumpster dive. Some time ago, I had a job as a runner for a crappy horror movie company. Part of my job as a runner was to go to the bank and make various deposits and withdrawals, both for the company and the boss. I went to the bank almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. The bank was in a really upscale neighborhood, so it was not uncommon to see some really high-end cars in the lot nearby where I parked. The lot was not free if you were just parking to walk the area, but you could get validation if you went to a certain specific business, like a bank a few buildings away. At this point, I'd been at my job for about 3.5 years, which meant I had easily been to this lot probably 1,000 times. I knew a lot of the workers in the area by name, including the lot workers. We talked a lot, and oftentimes I would get away without not getting validation, even on days when I wasn't working. I was in my 20s and often in shorts, flip-flops, and a merchandise shirt from my company. We didn't have uniforms, so they gave me a ton of shirts from their movies, so I would have some kind of identifier while I was out working. Now I should mention that I'm Hispanic with pretty dark skin. I normally wouldn't even bother mentioning that because who cares? You know who cares? Rich, entitled people. I've seen my fair share of veiled racism and typecasting over the years. Hell, even at that lot, I've been asked multiple times to park people's cars. They usually apologize and look embarrassed when I point out the guys in the polo shirts and vests with the name of the lot on them. So I usually just roll my eyes and go about my day. Occasionally, though, I'll get someone rude that'll snap their fingers at me, which I hate, or chuck their keys at me. I'm usually a little more of a jerk, but nothing major. On this day, I was in a pretty bad mood. My company was starting to do some shady stuff and was screwing over employees. A lot of people hadn't been paid in weeks, and I was on half checks. The only reason I got any money was because the main meat of my job had me driving anywhere from 4 to 12 hours a day, and I can't do that without gas, which they reimbursed me for on top of my paycheck. So on my way to the bank, I bought a strawberry smoothie for lunch, as I knew there was no chance I was going to make it back to the office to eat the food that I brought. I pull into the non-valet parking in the lot, chat with the attendant, and grab my ticket. I started walking toward the bank when I heard somebody shouting, "Jose! Hey, Jose!" But I obviously ignore it, because my name's not Jose. I walk past the lady shouting when I feel something smack me in the back of my head, dropping my glasses. I pick up my glasses and turn around and see this red-in-the-face lady glaring angrily at me. I was super PO'd. I looked down to see what hit me. It was her car and house keys. This B-word literally threw her keys at a stranger's head. She was driving some really nice Escalade that looked like it was probably fully loaded and detailed regularly. I pick up her keys and shout, "What the F, lady?" She shouts back, "Didn't you hear me calling you, you effing Mexican racist word? It's your own fault for ignoring me. I'm late for my hair appointment. Park my damn car." I was absolutely dumbfounded. I tried to explain to her that I didn't work there, but she was having none of it. Every time I opened my mouth, she called me something even more demeaning and racist, questioning my intelligence and threatening to get me fired. She started walking away, so I decided, F it. I hurried up and walked to the restaurant next door and shouted, "Hey, B-word." She turned around, steaming in the ears, as I calmly as I could manage said, "I don't work there." Then I dropped her keys in my half-full smoothie and chucked it as hard as I could into the restaurant's dumpster. The look on her face when the cup exploded in pink chunks as her keys dropped into the stinky dumpster was absolutely the freaking best. I walked away, flipping her off as she turned and ran back to the attendants. After I did all my business at the bank, I went back to the lot and saw her shouting at the lot security and pointing at me. The security guard, who I knew, asked me what happened. I told him she threw her keys at me and started shouting obscenities and refused to take them back when I tried to explain I didn't work there. Also that I threw them in my smoothie and chucked them in the trash next door. He was holding back his laughter when I finished. She tried to get him to call the cops on me, but he explained to her that she willingly gave me her keys and refused to take them back, telling her that she should have taken the extra second to listen to what I was trying to tell her. She then demanded that one of the workers go into the dumpster and fish the keys out, but he just pointed at a sign that said the lot takes no responsibility for lost or stolen property. Then he informed her that her Escalade was blocking traffic into the lot and that if she didn't move it in 15 minutes, he'd call a tow truck to move it for her. She didn't like that, and she let him know she didn't like it through a racist rant and grandstanding. He stood there quietly the whole time and took it, and when she was finally finished, he looked down at his watch and told her, "You have 7 minutes, ma'am." Wouldn't you know it, she angrily trudged off towards the dumpster. We had a good laugh about it, but he told me not to do it again. As I pulled out of the lot, I got a nice view of her in the dumpster, furiously throwing everything everywhere. I honked and waved as I passed and went on my day with a big smile on my face. The next day, one of the guys told me they ended up having to tow her Escalade. I guess she couldn't find her keys. Oh well, hope the hairdresser didn't mind her smelling like garbage. I'm not sure about the legality of all this, or if I'd be in any actual trouble if the police had been called. She just caught me on a bad day. I don't feel the least bit sorry about what I did, though. I guess the moral of the story is, don't be racist trash. And also, don't just give your keys to anyone like an idiot. I could just picture it if she called the cops. Now let me get this straight, lady. You assaulted this person with your keys. You're admitting this in public and on record? And on to our second story. You're always a waitress. It doesn't matter what restaurant we're in. I'm a waitress at a local restaurant. On my day off, I scheduled a lunch date with a guy from school. Traffic was brutal, so he was running late. I was sitting at my table looking at the menu. Note, this is not the restaurant I work at. It isn't even the same kind of food as the restaurant I work at. It's geographically nowhere near the restaurant I work at. So a woman comes up, took the menu out of my hands. "Why are you just sitting here? We've been waiting for service for 45 minutes. No, they hadn't. They came in the same time I did 10 minutes ago and had already gotten drinks. "Ma'am, I don't work here." I didn't recognize her at this point. "Don't lie to me. You're a waitress. You served me just last week. Don't you remember?" I vaguely remember her coming into my restaurant now because she complained that her meal wasn't served with hot sauce and then sent it back because it was too spicy. I'm a waitress at a local Mexican restaurant, but I'm not a waitress at the local burger bar. She says, "Same difference. You're a waitress. Get a pen and paper and take down our orders." I am a waitress, but not here. I'm just trying to enjoy my lunch like you are. I'm not employed here in any capacity. To which she replies, "But you're a trained waitress and this place is clearly running behind. Don't you people take an oath or something?" A little bit of malicious compliance kicked in because I rarely get to stand up to this kind of stupidity in my role as a server because 99.9% of the time it happens while I'm actually at work. So I went over to their table with a pen and paper from my backpack. I wrote down all their orders. I said it'd be about 45 minutes and just sit tight. I even brought over the ketchup they asked for. Just grabbed it off another table. Then I left. I texted my date to meet me at a place a few blocks over. The next day, the lady had called my boss at my actual restaurant as well as totally unleashed on the manager at the restaurant I was dining at. I felt bad when I realized the tough spot I'd left those people who actually worked there in. So I went back the next day to apologize and to follow up on the aftermath. Thankfully, they were chill and we had a nice laugh over it. They were like, "We were so confused because she described the server with explicit detail, but nobody remotely like that works here, so we thought she'd lost her mind." My boss knew who I was from her description and told them he takes this very seriously and asked what day this occurred. That's when they told him, and he said, "You must be mistaken. That server's off that day. She wasn't here." After some irate yelling and screaming at my very friendly manager about how I need to represent the restaurant wherever I go, she gave up. Now I just have to cross my fingers that she doesn't come by my actual restaurant. The waitress oath, with one hand on your heart and the other on a menu. "I do solemnly swear that I will support and serve the customers of all restaurants and bars of the United States, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will obey the orders of the managers appointed." And our third story. I'm an electrician, not a grocery store employee. I recently started an electrician apprenticeship with a company that does commercial work. There was a grocery store built near us, and they contracted us to do their electrical work, and they got a warranty with us, so we often would get called over there. On this particular day, we were sent to see what was wrong with the lights. There was a section of the store where the lights were flashing. As the newest apprentice, I don't know anything, so they basically make me run and fetch things from the van for them. Turn a couple screws here and there until I learn a little more. Anyway, I was wearing a bright colored vest, as well as a jacket and hat, both that said the name of my electric company in bright neon letters. I was clearly not a grocery store employee. I was walking to the van to grab a light cover when an older lady approached me. We'll call her OL. "Excuse me, where are the gift cards?" I didn't realize she thought I worked there at that time. I just thought she was asking me. "Right over there by the flowers." And I point them out to her. She says thanks and walks off. 10 minutes later, I'm fetching another tool for one of my coworkers. I honestly think they're holding bets to see how many times they could get me to walk out there. Suddenly, the older lady approaches me again. "Excuse me, could you help me with my cart?" She had a stock full cart that was clearly a little heavy for her. I felt bad, looked around, saw no employees, and I was headed out anyway, so I pushed it to her car and helped her put the bags in her car. She thanked me, and as I started to walk away, the manager happened to walk by. The older lady immediately walked up to the manager and said, "I deserve a raise." This is when I realized the IDWHL moment. The manager informed her that I don't work there, I work for the electric company. Then she looked at me, shocked, and actually read the letters on my jacket for the first time. "Well, you deserve a raise." When I got back into the shop that night, my boss told me a woman had called from the grocery store and recommended I get a raise. She must have Googled the name of my company and found the number online. Thanks, lady. Scored some major brownie points with my boss. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.